Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming the Collecting Community Discussion. Now, I feel like I've mentioned this video like a few hundred times already. It's been building for about half a year. I actually filmed it in July, I think. I didn't like how it came out, and I decided to refilm it, which is today, second attempt. So the reason I didn't like it is because this is a very, very sensitive topic, I find. And I wanted to make it justice. I didn't want to word things in a way that would offend anyone. And yeah, so I just decided to take a step back, go over everything I had written down in my notes. So I have notes in front of me, it's on my laptop, so that I can see what I want to address and specifics. So yes, now because this was originally filmed in July, I had found a type of sleeves, a brand for mini photo cards that I really wanted to review and recommend. Since then, a lot of collectors seems to have fallen onto this brand and have recommended it to others. So I'm not gonna do that big of a review anymore, and I'm just going to focus really on the community discussion. So as I'm gonna be talking, I'm going to actually sleeve all of these photo cards. There's about over 500 of these. My phone is charging, so you're gonna see it wired. Please ignore that. And I have a lot of packs, like a lot of packs. Just so that I don't run out. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this brand. This brand is called Make Them Last. It's a European brand. The thickness for the sleeves are 90 microns, which is a little bit thicker than Ultra Pro penny sleeves, obviously because those are penny sleeve, they're cheap, but they're thinner than Dragon Shield, the clear classic. They are 70 by 100 millimeters. Wow, me and English sometimes. The size that is listed on the site is the size of the cards that fit into the sleeves. Therefore, if there's a size that's listed, you just need to measure your card, and if it fits to what's written, it's going to fit in those sleeves. So it's a perfect fit no matter what. And I have fallen in love with these sleeves, which is why I have 1,000 of them on hand. I'm not even kidding on that number. And the reason why I wanted to find a sleeve for mini photo cards that was perfect size is because I have a lot of them, and I do not want to waste my time trimming sleeves. Now we're gonna do a little introduction / disclaimer because, again, sensitive topic. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. So this is a discussion about the collecting community. It is not a rant, although it will sometimes appear that it is. It's a heavy topic, so if you don't want to listen to this, you can leave, and thank you for passing by. Most of the topics I'm going to be speaking about are some that I personally have an opinion on, and that I've seen things and I wanted to discuss that, or others were suggested by some collectors and they decided that they wanted me to address my opinion on it. So of course everybody has their own personal thoughts on these topics. This is my own. Okay, this is my video. I'm going to be talking about my opinion, my own experience. I'm not here to tell anyone on how to collect or for anyone to tell me how I should be collecting. We all do things our own way and we have to respect that. So of course I'd like this to remain open-minded. We are probably going to disagree on certain things. Certainly we're gonna disagree actually, because some of my opinions are maybe not that popular. But there shouldn't be any attacking of anyone in the comment section, and if there is, I will immediately delete such comments. So yes, that is what I wanted to say on that. I'll be using example of things I've seen in the community, but I won't be naming anyone specific. If you know who I'm talking about, just keep it to yourself, you know? We don't need to make more drama, to say the least. I will also be using the indefinite pronoun you. I'm not targeting or accusing you, the viewer, specifically. This is just how I'm naturally talking, so I'm putting the disclaimer in advance. And also, I will address myself as a Hyoline collector in this video because although Jungkook is my ultimate bias, I collect 3 of Hyoline members. Therefore, I think I kind of pass as a Hyoline collector at that point. Finally, I will be talking about pricing in detail, so if that is a topic that bothers you, I will put timestamps, or I just wouldn't recommend watching this video because actually a lot of the topic is about, like, a lot of the discussion is about pricing because it's just a huge part of the community and about collecting. Wow, that was a long disclaimer. Let's get started on sleeving these because, oh god, this is actually the second time I sleeve these, so yeah, my patience. If you ever wondered why I went into teaching, that's a part of it. I have a lot of patience. So let's just get myself comfortable because we're gonna be here for quite a while. Let's get the first 50 sleeves out. Alright, so this is here. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to probably speak pretty slow because I have to look at my screen while I do this. So my first topic is called being rich. Now, I often see people in the comments talk about like how some people are rich for collecting certain things or for owning certain items, and I've also received some comments like that a few times. I'd like to say that I'm not rich. Okay, let's just get the facts out there. I'm not rich. I have financial limitations like anyone else, and I can't just, you know, go ahead and spend without thought. I can't casually buy hundreds of dollars, like a photocard that is worth hundreds of dollars like this. I don't have that kind of money lying around. But my budget is probably higher than others. Then that's just because of circumstances. When I buy with the money that I've worked for. But it's to note that I don't have any bills to pay because I live with my parents. And I also have gotten, how many scholarships at this point? I've gotten 4 scholarships so far in my studies because of my grades, which pays for my tuition and for my books. So all my money that I make at work, I can spend however I want. But I also don't exactly like buy clothing or go out with my friends or eat outside. So all of those expenses don't exist for me. I have just more money to spend on BTS basically. And that's potentially, or it's a big reason to why I can afford collecting. And everybody has their own situation and their own limits and their own financial status. And assuming that someone is rich or assuming someone's financial situation, I find it's insensitive to me. So I would like for people to be considerate of others and not make such comments. Wow, that one, it was really tough. I feel like maybe butter photocards are a little bit bigger, or maybe that was just Namjoon. Okay. Anyway, back on topic. So also I'd like to mention that the pricing in the community has not always been the way it is currently. So it's possible that a lot of collectors got their items for prices that are near non-existent in our current market. Meaning that a card that today costs $250 or $900 because Memories 2017 Blu-ray, they could have just gotten it for like $30-40 just a few years ago. because yeah, that's just how it is. Those were the prices. Honestly, just 2 years ago, the community in terms of pricing was a completely different place. I wouldn't own any of the things that I own today, or a majority of the things that I own today, if I hadn't started collecting back when prices were, well, affordable. So it's not because we own rare items that it means that we are rich. Did I dent this card? Yes, I did. I'm stupid. I should be really much more careful, but you know what? I don't care. These are my cards. And anyway, like, mini photo cards are not that expensive. That's like their only advantage. Except, well, it depends on the set. Why am I rambling about this? I love how I cannot stay on topic for for the life of me. I cannot stay on topic. So yes, it's not because we own rare items that we've paid like absurd prices for them. It's just sometimes it's about getting lucky. Sometimes it's about like being in the right place at the right time, and sometimes it's just that we've owned them for a long time. All right, now the beginning of pricing discussion. This is a huge part of my discussion. I spent so much time just going over what I wanted to say, because it has a lot of like layers. It's not a black and white thing to me. It's really gray, and that's what makes it such a complicated topic. So it's going to be separated into two sections. The first is just pricing, and the next is member pricing. So let's start with pricing. Pricing is a huge part of collecting, right? We pay for cards, we pay for shipping, we pay for duties, we pay for services, we pay for supplies, we pay for a lot of stuff. But obviously, we pay for cards. And in the past year, the pricing has gone up like at an unprecedented rate. Wow, that was a tough thing to pronounce. So I only started collecting photo cards near the end of 2019, and that was not even resale photo cards. It was just stuff that had been released, which was, I think, Speak Yourself Final. I believe that's what was the first type of merch I purchased for like that had photo cards in it. And so I haven't really been doing it for that long, right, compared to others. To some others, it depends. But I've still seen a huge increase in price in just that little amount of time. For example, a year ago, a new DVD photo card would start at 10 to 35 US dollars across members on Mercury Japan. Nowadays, the pricing for DVD photo cards for a DVD photo card is between $15 and $90 across members easily. Like, it's just absurd how expensive some members are for new photo cards. Like, literally, some of my most expensive DVD and Blu-ray photo cards for Jungkook have been the recent ones. Like, Memories 2019 Blu-ray Jungkook cost me more than his 2017 Blu-ray, his 2018 Blu-ray, and his 2020 Blu-ray. But that one, I just got lucky. So it's like, you know, it's just kind of absurd when we think about it. On some level, I can understand why the pricing is so high lately and why people buy resale, because, you know, I do as well. First of all, I'd like to say that I personally believe that supply and demand exist. Like, they exist. It exists for old and rare items like Diary 2014, which has some like 200 photo cards per member, and rarely do people sell their photo cards, so there's extremely few of them on the market, and there are a lot of collectors who want those cards. Similarly, Memories 2017 Blu-ray has been out of print and out of stock for years now, and there are very few people who sell them, and many who want them. So as a result, those cards are expensive and they're rare, which makes, sense. If old and out of stock cards have a supply and they have demand, then who's to say that new cards don't have that same principle, right? That's just how it is. At least in my opinion. Like, I've seen a group order manager that held requests for Grammy Lucky Draws, and like 90% of the photo cards ordered were from Magnaline, and there was literally one person who ordered Hosaka. So like, that is a type of supply and demand. Obviously the demand was like Magnaline in that case. And when we see a go, it's always Magnaline photo cards that are the first claimed, and that just shows the demand. And with every release, there are new armies and there are new people who collect, and so there's more demand for old cards, because the amount that Big Hit used to sell for a DVD or for merch has grown. Like, it is, wow, this one is really tight. Like, the card is warping. I'm just going to switch that out. What was I saying? The amount that Big Hit produces in terms of merch has grown a lot with the fandom, because that's just how it is. We don't, like, a company will not create more than they can sell. Why is this the second time that this card is like warped? I'm not sure. Is it the card? Is it the sleeve? What is going on? So yes, old content is for sure going to be more expensive than new stuff, especially if it's out of stock, because there's new fans all the time, and those new fans want to own those old items. Wow, this my wings cards are like super tight in this. This is so weird. Suddenly, if people saw me doing this, people can see me doing this. You guys must be judging the way I treat my cards. Like, I judge the way I treat my cards, honestly. So it's not such a bad thing. I don't mind like just bending out the cards a little bit, because they don't crease. As long as they don't crease, they're okay. That's such a bad thing to say. Anyway, please ignore me. So what was I saying? This is like every video ever by me. Just me losing my train of thought, getting distracted by stuff. Okay. So some people say that there is no such thing as supply and demand for merch produced by Big Hit, because Big Hit produces the same quantity and supply for every member. I agree. They do create merch in batches, which is why if you like purchase multiple DVDs in the same order, you are likely to pull the same member, because they don't shuffle stuff. Like, why do you think we have so many dupes? They don't shuffle things from their batches. So it's obvious that they make batches of members, and it's probably equal quantity. However, that doesn't mean that on the market the supply is the same. There's the reality that a lot of people who pull Jungkook and Taehyung and even Jimin and some of the Hyunline, even if they don't collect that member, they will keep it for themselves. How many times I have seen people who do not collect Jungkook and Taehyung just keep their photo cards because they like the way they look. They don't collect it, but they keep it. So that's one less card on the market every time it happens. But when a new DVD comes out, I see like 50 posts of people trying to trade Namjoon for a Magneline photocard. And that's where I'm talking about the actual supply, which is kind of like a perceived supply. It's the supply that we see on the market. And something that's been happening a lot lately is that people will keep Magneline cards, sell them, and then buy Hyunline for really cheap so that they can make a profit. Or they'll even ask to like top up a card, even though they're like the same era, they're the same merch item. So it's like, why? There shouldn't be any reason. They're both the same. So yeah, that's been happening a lot. And so that just makes it that there are less cards on the market for some members. And those who do sell them, they sell them for really, really high prices. And if one person doesn't buy it, well, somebody else will. And so it never really stops. It just keeps going. It's like a cycle. This is really weird. Is it just Wing's Final that is like super tight in my sleeves? Like, it did not do this the first time I filmed this video, so it's kind of worrisome. Because I don't want them to like bend in my binders, you know? Like, that's kind of like a worry. So let's keep going. Now, while I do understand why the prices are the way they are, that doesn't mean that I like that. And I don't think anyone likes the fact that prices are super high. See, these ones are perfectly fine. Okay. Like, these prices also discourage me. Yes, I collect a lot of things. So thankfully, I never really get bored. I can always change my focus anytime I want. If I feel that the prices are getting too high for a certain item, I just start collecting something else. Because I collect a lot of different merch. But that's not the case for everyone. And so if you collect less things, if you collect only, I don't know, album and DVDs, you will feel discouraged probably quicker. Because you are focusing on DVDs and you're seeing all these high prices. And so, for example, when Memories 2020 Blu-ray came out, and I saw the resale price for Jungkook, because I didn't buy Blu-ray 2020. I had a horrible experience for 2019, and I just refused to buy the Blu-ray this time and just buy it resale. When I saw the resale prices, it was so bad. In Korea, it was like $200. On Mercury Japan, it was $150 and more, and it just, I felt so discouraged. And seeing this, I just kept thinking, like, so many days I keep thinking that I want to quit collecting or just downsize, because it's just, I can't keep up with all the releases. Big Hit releases so many merch with items, and it's usually like the most expensive items that have photocards nowadays. And it's just, it keeps on piling up. And I'm starting to feel, you know, like the stress of like the pressure of having to finish my sets. But the prices just keep going up, so it's getting even more difficult. And I collect 4 members, so I'm really feeling it, okay? So I feel discouraged by these prices as well. And sometimes people, you know, like, they tell me, well, the Blu-ray is still in stock. You can just buy it and try to pull Jungkook yourself. And I disagree. Just because the Blu-ray is still in stock, that doesn't mean that's the best option for me financially. I always go for the cheapest option, because that's how I'm able to collect more. If I pay too much on an item, then I lose like a budget somewhere else. So let's stick with the Memories 2020 Blu-ray example. I could buy it on Weverse. Let's say if it was still in stock, I could have bought it on Weverse. With the shipping, it would have been $120 USD to Canada. far, okay, that's not too bad. However, Weverse Global ships to Canada with DHL. And so for every single order we make, we get charged with $30 to $40 of customs. And now that Blu-ray is $150 easily. Fun. But wait, that's not where it ends. Because the Blu-ray doesn't have many things inside of it. It has the DVD, like the CDs. It has the photocard, and it has postcards. I don't have a Blu-ray player, therefore I'm not going to keep the Blu-ray for myself. I'm going to try to resell it. But without the postcard and without the photocards, that Blu-ray doesn't sell for much. I see people struggle to sell theirs for like $35. That's like a tiny fraction of $150. And people would be like, yeah, but you got the card. Yes, I got a card. That doesn't mean I got the card I needed, because there are 7 members, and Jungkook is the most expensive, therefore that's ideally the one I would pull, but my chances of pulling Jungkook are 1 in 7. So likely, I would have paid $150 for Memories 2020 Blu-ray and not pulled Jungkook, and not managed to resell the set for the price that I paid. Not a very good deal in my opinion. When instead, what I did was I purchased my friend's extra card of Jungkook for $120, which was the price of the Blu-ray on Weverse. The shipping was $1 instead of like $40, and I had no customs, and I was assured that I would get Jungkook. So the Blu-ray still in stock is not always the best option for everyone, because everybody's situation is different. In my case, we have a lot of customs, which is really not appealing to buy on Global. Wow, this file is pretty thick. So yes, this is like, I see this all the time. People who are against overpricing and member pricing just going and saying, yes, but it's still in stock, just buy it. Yeah, it's still in stock, but it's actually not a good deal for me. So yes, I'll go for resale when I need to, which is why I understand why other people also do go for resale. I try to go for the cheapest option possible, at least while I buy resale, so that I don't encourage, you know, the ever increasing prices in our community. And potentially the reason the prices are ever increasing is because people are buying for higher prices every time. If you buy a card for $50 and $10 of shipping, the next time you're gonna sell it, you're not gonna price it for $50, you're gonna price it for $60 to cover the shipping that you paid. So, you know, the prices just keep going up like that. People won't sell for less that they bought. Or if they do, it's very rare. So how do we get prices back to normal? Stop buying from people who resell and overprice? Well, no, who overprice while reselling? That's an option, I guess, but here's the thing. There's always going to be one person who's willing to pay a lot more than you are. I have my limits, and I know what they are, and I always follow them when I want a card. But sometimes I see cards and they're above my limits and they still sell. That's because everybody's limits are different. Wow, is this like perfectly the number of cards and sleeves? That is wonderful. I have to appreciate that. I just really have to appreciate that. Let's like take a little break from that really heavy topic we just did. Which is not even finished, honestly. I'm gonna open another pack and then get back to talking, because I'm kind of feeling like tired. Like my throat is tired. Another pack. So, research. Research is important, let's be honest, when we buy. We need to know about different platforms. We need to buy about different paying options. We need to know about pricing. If we don't know about how much an item goes for, or about like background information concerning that item, we can't make an informed decision about the item we're buying. If we think that a card is rare, but it isn't actually, then we are likely going to overpay for an item. So, research. When I was a new collector, I had little to no idea about pricing or where to buy cards. I thought eBay was like the only place to purchase a card, and that the pricing that I saw there was, you know, the actual pricing in the community. Like, yeah, 13 USD plus shipping for an album photo card. That's totally normal. Thankfully, I've never actually purchased an album photo card on eBay. I like somehow went on Instagram one day and searched for BTS photo cards, and that's how I started seeing like a bit of the community. Thankfully for that. However, there are a lot of people who do this mistake. I had a friend who paid 92 USD for Taehyung's personal album photo card version 4. I'm not even kidding. That's just because she didn't know that, you know, you can buy these cards on Instagram for like $9. And that's why it's important that we educate new collectors. We tell them, we be open about information about which places you can buy photo cards. What is the actual price of a photo card? What type of photo cards is this? How to not be scammed? What is the difference between goods and services and friends and family? And so on and so forth. So much information that would help others. And instead, sometimes I see people gatekeep that information because to them, collecting is like a competition. It's not about helping each other and being a community. It's about, I want to finish my set first. I want to pay the lowest price possible and, you know, screw everyone else. Which I can't accept. So for me, like, someone wants information about something, I will gladly give it to you. My DMs are always open to discuss like a way to get something, whether you want to find a better proxy for Mercury Japan, or if you want to start buying on like the Korean market. What are the like keywords that you can use? How does yen and Korean won works? All of that information. It's not always obvious. It's not readily available to people. And so I will always be open to sharing my knowledge, or at least the knowledge that I have. If I don't have it, I'm going to go and find someone who does and, you know, try to guide them. Like, hey, this person might know something. Go to them. And it's fascinating to me. I've once asked a collector about like the price that they paid for a card, and they came at my throat for that. And I was like, I'm just asking for information so that I can educate myself. And I don't know, the fact that they came for my throat, ever since then I was like, yeah, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like, I'm just going to block you, distance myself, thank you, have a nice day. I don't need like people like that around me. So I was just like, you know, keep it positive. So yeah, collectors need to help each other. We need to educate each other about like where you can buy photo cards cheaper and what is a reasonable price. Sometimes I see, like, oftentimes in Discord servers, we have places where we can give information about photo cards, and the prices I see, I'm like, are those price range like accurate? When's the last time you looked at the market, right? Because if you don't give the right price range, people are gonna have false expectations. For example, I was looking to buy Memories 2016 from a seller, I believe like a year ago, and it was Blood, Sweat, and Tears photocards, it was $35. And my friend told me, oh, that is such, like, it's an expensive price. And that's all she said. And I was like, because of that, I took it to heart and I didn't buy it. Well, nowadays, that card is 100 USD. And finding it for $35 is a blessing. But, you know, like, she gave me a price range that was unrealistic because it was from her own experience from buying it months ago. And because I trusted that, I decided to wait to find a better price than $35 and got screwed over. So it's really important to make sure that your information is up to date. If you don't know the price of a card at the current time, go look it up or don't say anything. I will usually try and tell people, like, I'm sorry, I haven't seen that card in a long time. So I don't feel comfortable telling you a price. This is how much I paid, but this was the time that I paid it. So, you know, like, the date that the year or the time that I purchased it makes the entire difference. I can say that I bought a card for, you know, $6. Okay, but when was that? 3 years ago, or, you know, last week? It makes the entire difference. But other than that, buying a card, it is entirely a collector's decision to make. Whether you want to buy a card for XYZ price, that is your choice. I'm not here to tell you that is overpriced or that is a good price. That's for each of us to make our own decision. If you want a card and you want it desperately and the price is a little bit high, well, that's your choice to make if you want to pay that price or not. When I was looking for Jungkook's Diary 2014, I searched for months for that card, and I saw every single price range possible. And when I found it, I told my friends I wanted to buy this card, and I told them the price, and they looked at me like they thought I was crazy for wanting to spend, being ready to spend a few $100s on a piece of paper, as they called it. But I really wanted that card, so I made the decision to buy it, and I don't regret the decision. It's one of my favorite Jungkook cards, and it's ever, and it still is. So yeah, it's really your choice, whether you want to buy something in the end. But we have to remember that collecting is a hobby. That means don't put yourself in debt, just for cards, please. But it's still, we have to remember that hobbies are expensive, just like anything else. Everything in life is expensive, even breeding, honestly. As collectors, we're the one who give the importance to and a value to a card, right? Technically, this is a piece of paper. To anyone who doesn't collect, it doesn't mean anything. This is like, what, 20 cents? To an uncollected, that's just what it is. It has no value. And we are the ones who give value to these cards. That's why some cards are so expensive. And, you know, that's just the reality of it. If nobody cared about Diary 2014 cards, it would not cost the price it costs. Does that even make sense? The price it costs? The price it is? The cost of... You know what? Forget it. This entire video is just gonna be being done. And I'm not even like halfway through. This is just the second topic. I hate this. I hate this so bad. Why do I do this? Just remember, in the end, your collection is your own. There's no one rushing you to complete a set. There's no one forcing you to buy every single item that is released. And if you can't afford it, there are replicas until you find a better price. Can you stop sliding? I will literally cry. And I'm saying that because I saw someone complain about the fact that Hosok Butterfly Night event photocard was priced for like $500, and they were like, that is too expensive for a card, a piece of paper, they said. And I was like, if this is just a piece of paper, then you have no problem buying a replica, because these cards are not like high in supply. There are like maybe 130 of them for each member. Like, yeah, these are really rare and they're really in demand. They are gonna be expensive, and we have to be realistic about that. If a card is too expensive, replicas exist, guys. If you think of cards just as pieces of paper, then replica is probably the better option than actually collecting official ones. And it's the fact that they're official that makes them have value. Otherwise, it's just, as we said, a piece of paper. So yes, that is pricing. What a long and complicated topic I found. Alright, next part is member pricing. We're still in pricing. I kind of want to cry if it wasn't obvious already. So I kind of make this its own category because it's an entirely different topic in my opinion. Pricing is one thing, member pricing is something else. I have instances where I am okay with member pricing. Wait, before you come at my throat, let me explain. So I have instances where I'm okay with it, and I have others where I'm not. It really depends on the situation for me. I disagree with member pricing when it comes in a set. If you have a set of all members included in your item and you bought it for face value, there should not be any member pricing there because there's no random element to it. You just bought an item and got a photocard of every member. Why should there be member pricing there? That's the part where I'm like, no, there shouldn't. However, if somebody buys a DVD set of OT7 and it's resale and they want to hold a group order for it, I find no issue with them doing member pricing in that case. Because that set, the seller is probably listing the price in consideration to the fact that there are 3 Magnet Line members, and the price is taking the member pricing in account. So it's more expensive because it's taking that fact that there are 3 members who are more in demand into account, and member pricing in that case is kind of expected. And so you'll have people who will do a go, and they will price every member the same. They'll divide the total price by 7, and they say it's a fair go, it's a fair price, because everybody is evenly distributed. I disagree. Let me just put this there and gather my thoughts, because this is like a part where somebody would come at my throat for. This is where I need to not put my foot into my mouth. So if you do evenly priced, Hyunline ends up being more expensive than the market, while Magnet Line ends up being lower priced than the market. So it's not actually fair, because the only people who are benefiting of this type of go are Magnet Line collectors, who coincidentally are usually the ones holding these type of group orders. I've also held fair member pricing, except that when I hold those goes, or when I used to hold those goes, I would also claim 3 of Hyunline members. Therefore, I was paying, the same price between Hyung and Magnet. I was actually paying the price I was putting for Hyunline. And if I felt that the price for Hyunline was more expensive than the market, or it was unfair, I would do member pricing. I would not go for fair pricing or for equal pricing, because I didn't find it fair. And that's why oftentimes you'll see that those go where it's equally divided is really hard to fill for Hyunline. It's because the prices are not good in comparison to the market price. And we shouldn't be paying more for other people to get their cards for less. And I remember a group order manager once told me that if a go can't be filled with equal member pricing that it's not a good set. So to quote. But funnily enough, I'd like to add that same group order manager, a Jungkook collector, once held a go for a DVD set, and they equally priced them, and Hyunglein was super overpriced, and they admitted to me in DM that they did indeed find Hyunglein overpriced, but it didn't matter to them because they would manage to get Jungkook for lower than the market price. And I was just like, wow, thank you for admitting that. Like, at least you're honest, but I don't agree in doing that. It's just the principle of it, you know. I would feel like shit if I took advantage of others like that. So things like that, I disagree with. So personally, I don't consider equal member pricing goes fair, because us online collectors are expected to pay more than the market, and I shouldn't be have to do that to get a card. And I actually really like the prices I pay for Hyunglein, you know. I don't want prices to go up for them because of such goes, because again, people don't resell for the same price that they bought it. They resell higher typically, unless it doesn't sell, but in that case it's very rare. I've also seen people attack sellers who member price. First of all, let me just say that attacking people over cards is just messed up. Like, first of all, I disagree with anyone attacking someone else for any reason at all, but over cards, a piece of paper, really, like, no, thank you. If you disagree with the price that somebody is selling a card, just move on and buy it elsewhere. I don't see what is so difficult about minding your own business if you disagree with someone's way of doing things. Often I've seen this one seller who overprices their Jungkook cards so much, and I disagree so much with them, but I never confront them. I never make a post publicly going like, oh, this person is crazy or whatever. I'd never do that. I'll talk to my friends about it. I'll be like, wow, this person, their prices makes no sense. Like, in comparison to the market. Like, I'll do that, but in private, you know, to people I trust and I know won't go and talk about it in public. Because it doesn't need to go back to them. They don't need to have that stress. They don't need to get attacked by others because of their prices. Even if you disagree with it, just move on. It's so much simpler. It makes so much less, there's so much less drama in that way. In that case, you know what, you get it. Like, at this point, you know me. You'll understand. So yes. My friend has been attacked for member pricing. I believe it was the concept book, and she had priced Taehyung's photocard more than Namjoon by like $10, which honestly, compared to everyone else, that's not bad. And they made a whole deal about her being an NT for pricing Namjoon so low, but they never made a comment about the fact that Seokjin was priced the same as Namjoon. Okay, fun. Interesting. And then my friend, as a joke, replied, well, if you want them to have the same price, then I can raise the price of Namjoon. And that shut them up, you know. But on that topic of, you know, attacking others for the price that Namjoon and Hoseok are set at, there's a YouTuber called Moonroad who made a comment that I find very relevant. And basically she explained that people victimize Namjoon and Hoseok with the way they complain about them being underpriced. They are global superstars. Their value is not the price of a card. They make thousands of dollars. They have reputations. They have so many achievements, and you're reducing them to the price of a card? That's just insulting. Also, I believe that Namjoon and Hoseok are the members who are correctly priced. Their prices are what cards should be. Everyone else is just being overpriced. There's nothing else to say about that. It's just that simple. The next instance where I think member pricing is okay is when someone is reselling their collection. So I collect 4 members, and they all fall under very different price points. Hoseok and Jungkook are my 2 extremes, as I like to say. One is extremely cheap, and the other is extremely expensive. So unless I pull a member, I will buy the card resale, which means I usually pay quite a bit for Jungkook because his prices, of course, are absurd compared to everyone else I collect. But if tomorrow I was to resell, I can't exactly price them lower than I bought them, or I'll suffer a monetary loss. I won't be pricing members equally because I didn't pay the same for them. And then I'll get a bunch of comments saying that I'm member pricing and I'm gonna get attacked for that. And somebody might even deal with the same thing they did to my friend and call me an NT, a Hoseok NT, because I priced him the lowest of the 4, which is ridiculous because he's literally my bias. You see how ridiculous that sounds? Right. So, someone else might suggest that I add up the price and divide by the numbers of members so that it's equal. But that doesn't work either. Let's do an example with on broadcasts. Now, I bought my broadcasts at insanely good prices, so I can't do this example with the prices that I purchased them at because that was just luck. However, I have seen Jungkook and Hoseok sets sell for this before, therefore I'm going to use these prices for this example. There are 2 extremes. So let's say that Hoseok set is $90 and Jungkook set is $300. I have seen them sell for those prices before, therefore that's why I'm using these prices. In total, all 4 cards are $390. There are 2 sets, so we're dividing by 2, and that's $195 per set. For Hoseok, that is clearly overpriced when compared to the market, and it's not gonna sell. I can assure you that. Jungkook, however, is a steal compared to his market price, and it's gonna be gone in a flat 2 seconds. So in that case, I'll be left with Hoseok set, and I'll have no choice but to lower his price because it won't sell. And as a consequence, I'll suffer that monetary loss. Back to square one. So that's why I wouldn't be doing like this whole dividing my members so that it's equal, because it just doesn't work. I didn't pay the same for all the members, therefore I'm not gonna list them as the same when I sell it. When I sell them. Sell them, whatever. Next thing is that I don't like hypocrisy. I don't like member pricing, but I'm never gonna shame someone for doing it because I understand why they do it. I feel like a lot of people see things in black and white. It's member pricing, therefore it's wrong, and that's it. That's an easy way of looking at things, but it's not accurate to me. And I disagree with that way of looking at things. And I was on this Discord server, a Discord server for auctions, mind you, and people were shaming others for buying from sellers who member price. They complained about member pricing because Magnaline was priced so much higher than Hyungline. And this is what came through my mind at that point, is that if I was to sell right now my Memories 2017 Blu-ray photocards for Jungkook and Sojin, let's say, and I priced them for what I paid, which was 80 something for Jungkook and 50 for Sojin, like That's just like without the shipping and all the stuff. But those prices are insanely good right now. You cannot compare those with the market price. If right now I listed my cards for those prices, no one would say anything about member pricing because the prices are good, despite the fact that there's still a $30 gap between Seokjin and Jungkook's price. Therefore, it's still member pricing. So it seems like the issue people have is not about member pricing, but rather overpricing. There's a difference. Or maybe it's just that people overlook whenever it benefits them. You know? Oh, it's member pricing. Oh, but it doesn't matter because this time I benefit from it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just funny to me. Things I see. And also, if you complain about member pricing, but you buy on Mercury Japan or on Korean Twitter, you're kind of promoting member pricing because those places are full of it. You can't buy on Mercury Japan for Namjoon and then complain about member pricing because Namjoon is the cheapest there because of member pricing. So yeah, that is everything I wanted to say about pricing. Finally, okay, let's move on to something else, which is still kind of related to prices. This is about price shaming. So there are two sections. There's price shaming buyers and there's price shaming sellers. Price shaming buyers. So I've only actually heard this in Discord servers where there's auctions, potentially because well, it's usually in those places it's forbidden to like tell someone like, you know, this is like you're overpaying or something, because that's price shaming buyers. I think that's just because it's really easy to scam someone or, you know, take advantage of them if they're ignorant about the pricing, and they think that auction prices are good. They're not always good. It depends on every auction, because some auctions people don't know how to bid and they'll start bidding like the moment the timer begins instead of the last 10 seconds, and so the price is just gonna rise up extremely quickly. It really depends on like the type of auction you end up and like the audience and how experienced they are with auctions. So, but still, you know, the whole you can't talk about a price because it's going to make a buyer feel ashamed of what they're paying. To me, if you're ashamed of the price you're paying, I think that says that maybe you overpaid and you know about it, because I mean, it was your decision to buy that item for that price. So yeah, like I know I've overpaid sometimes and I have no shame talking about it. I'm gonna tell people, yeah, I overpaid and you shouldn't pay the same price as I did, because it's lower than that nowadays. It happens, and I just assume responsibility for my choices, and I have no shame about it because it was my choice. So yeah, that's how I feel about price shaming buyers. As for sellers, I disagree. I completely disagree of ever shaming a seller for the price that they're setting their own collections for, because it's their own items. They're completely allowed to price this however they want, and if someone is clearly overpricing, then just move on. If no one buys it, they'll have no choice but to lower that price. So complaining about it publicly will just give them more reach, and it may also lead to them getting attacked. A collector who's selling their entire collection, or just their collection, has every right to price it however they want, because they went through the trouble of finding that item, and now they're making it readily available for other collectors to buy. It could have taken them months to find those cards. So yeah, they have every right to price it how they see fit, especially if they're a credible, a legit, a reliable collector, a seller. Like, I am always ready to pay more if I am assured that I'm gonna get like my merch, because sometimes you have to take a risk, right? You take risks buying, and not everybody takes that risk. and that might get you a lot of good deals. But with reliable sellers, you might be paying more for their reputation. Of course, I'm only applying this logic for cards that are rare and difficult to complete, like sets that are difficult to complete. I'm not talking about like soju cards, because I mean those are everywhere on the market. They're like oversaturating the market, and they shouldn't be that expensive. So I'm like more like talking about old sets, like Wings Final with the hollows and so on and so forth. So for example, my friend who is a seller has been shamed for trying to sell Jungkook fan club. Why do I always call it fan club renewal star hollow for $350, and she got shamed for that. That's a good price, right, nowadays? Then a few months later, funnily enough, the person who shamed her went back and asked if it was still available, because now that price was good. So yeah, you see, it's just when it fits people's agenda, suddenly things can be good. Also, this used to be a problem in the community a lot, but recently I feel like that's kind of stopped being an issue. It might still happen though, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about it. Like, people who gather in group to shame sellers or like call them out, specifically small sellers, for their pricing, like, they need to find something better to do with their time. Instead of like wasting time shaming sellers, it's better to educate other collectors on what are reasonable prices, where to buy more affordable photocards, and so on. Like, wouldn't that be so much better use of our time and energy? I don't know. Is that just me? Like, calling out people to thousands of followers is just enabling their followers to go and harass those sellers over a piece of paper. And it leads to so much negativity in the community. And I've heard people like just straight up tell me that they don't want to like speak up because they're scared of getting attacked for speaking up, which is just straight up messed up. So yeah, that's everything about shaming sellers. Hopefully that is not gonna fall. That pile is like literally huge. Mercury Japan resellers. This is something that people don't talk about enough. When I got into collecting, I had no idea that Mercury Japan was a thing. And so I got recommended Mercury Japan resellers who make $20 to $100 of profit on each post that they make, on each sell post. And it's not as if these sellers have secured the items beforehand and are reselling. They buy on demand and they make so much profit, and people don't even realize they're being scammed. They take advantage of ignorant collectors, and I feel that we really need to talk about that. We need to tell people, you know, Mercury Japan is a thing. I didn't know until like months into my collecting journey, and when I found Mercury Japan, I went nuts. Like, the prices there were so good. It was an experience, to say the least. And ever since then, I've never purchased Mercury Japan reseller ever again. Okay, quote your own price. How are we still on the topic of pricing, technically? Quote your own price is like everywhere these days. But I think we need to give people a definition of what quote your own price means. It means, technically, that a buyer is sending the price they think an item is worth. And it's meant to be used when a seller is ignorant of what the pricing is. That means somebody who hasn't been keeping up with pricing would usually use quote your own price. But because they haven't been keeping up with the pricing in the community, they don't exactly know what is acceptable or not. So they'll usually take the first offer that they're given because it's the buyer's price, right? That's what quote your own price is. What quote your own price is not, if as a seller you have a minimum price in mind, you don't use quote your own price. Just list the price you want. And it's not taking the highest amount offered because that's a bid. If you want to make it a bid, call it a bid. It's going to cause a lot less confusion. There's a reason these terms are different. It's because they're not the same. They have different purposes. So yes, I feel like quote your own price is just people trying to make the most money they can out of people who have no idea how much something is worth. Like, why does quote your own price for like album photo cards even exist? That doesn't make any sense. They are still in print. Anyway, moving on. Rare cards. With the quotation marks there, yes. Out of print does not equal rare. Memories 2020 Blu-ray is out of print. That does not mean that it is rare. There are not that many cards that I would consider rare, to be honest. I consider something rare if they are limited in quantity and in availability. So for example, Diary 2014 had only 600 copies sold, and on top of that, you had random photo cards. Therefore, there's maybe about 200 cards per member. That is very limited. Then you have like First Mustard Weapon and the Butterfly Dream Premium Photos for Heel Line, which are rarer because less sold. Japanese Fan Club Renewal. They were given randomly to Japanese Army that renewed their membership at the venue the day of or began their membership that day. That is extremely specific criteria to get a card, and it's random. No wonder those cards are expensive. That is what I consider rare. I don't consider rare a DVD that came out 3 years ago and has been out of stock, because there are tons of copies of those cards that exist. Yes, they're not on the market, but at some point they will be. Like when people drop their collection, because there's always people who drop their collection, they're gonna be on the market. They're not rare. Not to me, at least. So any imprint item is not rare, obviously, and any newly released item is not rare. Like amongst DVD photo cards, the only rare ones are probably like Japanese, because yeah, it's kind of like limited in like who can order them, but even now we have proxies for those, and the Memories 2017 Blu-ray, because that was the first time we had photo cards in the Blu-ray, so not a lot of people actually bought it. I think it like sold out, and also the quantity back then was not as much as today. But yeah, please stop slapping rare like on every item ever. I think I once saw like a seller slap the word rare on a Dark and Wild OT7 set. Yes, I'm talking about like the album photo card, the current album photo cards, which are in print. Anyway, this gets me like so enraged. Like in a way, not really enraged. I don't get mad easily, but I don't know, it gets me frustrated. Anyway, we are almost at the end, thank God, because I'm feeling it right now. How long are we in? Over an hour, I think. I don't know. Anyway, this is super long. Collecting bias only, or bias line only. Now, this is not my topic, because surprisingly enough, I haven't gotten that many comments about the fact that I collect for members of BTS. Like, I don't know, I thought so many people would make comments about like, why do I collect for members and not all of BTS when I'm so close, right? I'm only missing through members. No, surprisingly not. No, this was a topic that was requested by someone who only collects Jungkook. And I hope I'm going to make this topic justice. I understand how that person feels. That they wish they could collect OT7, but they can't, because it's too expensive. Even 4 is like pushing it for me these days. It's getting harder and harder. Collecting is not cheap. We're talking about not just the cards, we're talking about the supplies too, right? The more cards that you own, the more supplies that you need. As made obvious by the fact that I needed like 1,000 sleeves for like my mini photo cards. Okay, that's just how bad it is. like outside of album photo cards, there's like only mini PCs that are kind of like affordable, but even then, those, you know, like they pile up. Like the prices, they accumulate. It's easy to say, yeah, mini PCs, if you collect one member, maybe. But even then you have like what, 10 sets for one member? 15 sets for one member? It does pile up. We see the cost increasing, I guess. So yes, it's just expensive to collect in general. So if someone is collecting only one member or their baseline, like me, they're completely allowed to do that. It doesn't make them a solo stand for it. And if it bothers someone that they're collecting only one member or only a specific set of members, then they should go ahead and try collecting OT7 and see how expensive it is. Because even album photo cards these days, for some members, is like, okay, like this album costs what, $15, and the card itself is like $15 more. I remember when Butter came out and I saw Taehyung's card selling for like $40, and I was like, excuse me? What? Why? But that's what makes it so difficult. And again, it depends on who you collect and what is your financial situation. Somebody who collects Hosoka is not going to feel it as much, but that also depends on their financial situation. If they're a student and if they're young, even Hosoka can be expensive to collect. And adding 6 more members on top of that might just straight up be impossible. So we just can't assume what is the situation for someone, and we have to be respectful of their like boundaries. We have to be respectful of just their choices, I guess is the best way to say it. We don't love other members any less just because we don't collect them. It's just not in our budget to do it. Trust me, I would collect OT7 for everything if I could, but I can't because I collect a lot of different things, and I collect for 4 members for all of these different things. The only the only places where I frequently do OT7 is mini photo cards, which again, pretty cheap because I buy them at face value and then trade or buy what I'm missing, or album photo cards, which again, I buy multiple albums and I pull those cards. I don't buy them resale where the prices are just stupidly high. So again, it depends. Just we have to be understanding of each other. Otherwise, the community is going to suffer. Wow, why are these piles so huge? I'm just like putting into perspective my decisions right now. Like, my collecting decisions are just straight up being placed forward, and I'm like considering everything I've done in my life. Everything I've been purchasing. Anyway, let's just finish this so I can shut up, because you guys must be so tired of hearing me speak. Like, just straight up. Alright, final topic. The pressure to collect everything. And this is more to reassure collectors rather than have a discussion. I think that we all feel pressured sometimes to collect everything, especially when we see other collections. We see other people and we can't help but compare ourselves. It sucks, but that's just how we are. Some people don't have that situation. They don't go through that as often as others. But then others do. Really, it depends on who we are, right? And it's human. It's human to feel like that. Big Hit releases so much merch all the time. It's normal to feel as if we can't keep up. And they've obviously realized that our biggest weakness are photo cards and holographic photo cards, because those have been pretty prominent lately, I guess. And also the most expensive items tend to include photocards. I just like to mention that Christmas sleep kit that had like with slippers, pants, and a like eye mask or whatever, and it cost like $100. I was like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? And I still bought it for 2 photocards. Like, I'm sorry, it had my bias line in it. But that's the type of thing where we fall into this like hole where we feel like we need to own everything. And others might tell us, oh well, no one is forcing you to buy it. But it's just a natural feeling to have when we want our collections to be complete. And this is especially hard for completionist collectors. Thankfully, I'm not one. I collect what I like visually, and if I do not like, I don't collect it. Even if it ruins the pace of my collection, I don't care. I will not collect it if I don't like it. It's really a personal matter of setting limits for yourself and pacing yourself. You have to consider what type of merch and cards you like. And if you're unsure about liking something, it's probably not worth collecting. It's okay if your collection is small or it is incomplete, as long as you love what you have. Because in the end, collecting is something we're supposed to enjoy. It's a hobby. It's not meant to be a stress. So sometimes taking a step back is also good. And if it's always stressful, you won't enjoy it anymore. So just forgetting about releases can be good for you. Like me, when I go into my internship, I don't go on internet. Like, if I do, it's only to research things for my lessons. I don't go on social media. I don't buy photo cards unless I have a lot of free time, which is really rare. And last year, for example, I went 3 months without looking at the market. I had no idea what cards were being released. I had no idea about prices. I came back and I saw prices having increased so much. And honestly, I didn't feel anything. I taking a step back was just really, really good for me. It took my mind off collecting, and it just kind of reset everything. So yes, sometimes taking a step back is the solution. If you really have to, downsize. It can lower the pressure and make you enjoy it again. Again, we have to remember, it's not a competition about who completes a set first. The cards are going to be there later on. The same way, some people feel the need to keep up with everything that BTS releases. Trust me, I used to be like that. When I was in high school, I used to stan another group than BTS. And I used to sacrifice sleeping to keep up with everything. And I learned to take a step back and to distance myself and to prioritize my well-being before K-pop. Everything is going to be there afterwards. So you don't need to rush. You don't need to keep up all the time. It's really important to figure out your own personal limits. And even sometimes, we don't consider it, but in our binders, the way we display things, having fillers, it just puts more pressure on us because we look at those fillers, we look at those holes in our binder, and we think, oh, I'm missing this card. I have to get this card. It depends on everyone. Some people don't mind having fillers. They don't think about it. They just see it like, oh, it's to make it look good. But that's also something that can increase your stress. And sometimes it's also the people in the community that you have to distance yourself from. Because there can be a lot of negativity. And that was extremely prominent just a few months ago. So, yeah, sometimes it's people. You have to surround yourself with positive people. If you have people that you're talking with are always complaining, that's not good. That's not good for you. So remember, you have to take care of yourself. Because collecting is just that. It's a hobby. It's supposed to make you feel good, but if you don't feel good, then it's not doing its job. And perhaps that's your hint or your signal that you need to take a step back. So I hope that reassures some people a little bit to remember what collecting is meant to be and not what it is being perceived as being. Like, sometimes people find it as a way to, like, you know, show off. Look, I have money, or I have this, or I have that. It's a competition. And if you fall into that hole, collecting is not going to be good. It's not going to be enjoyable. So yeah, just sometimes you need to re-evaluate yourself to get back on track. And that's everything I wanted to say, so I'm going to really shut up now and just keep sleeping. So hopefully you're going to enjoy the sound of me just opening sleeves and putting cards in them, and maybe silently crying to myself because I just want to go to bed. So yes, that is everything. And so that is the entirety of my mini photocard collection sleeved. Yeah, that must have been boring towards the end. I'm so sorry. I didn't have enough to cover the entire collection. And I'm gonna have a lot of fun putting all of these back into my binder. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be filming a very long overdue binder update soon. It's probably going to be multiple parts because I haven't updated my binders since June or July. It's been nearly half a year. So I have so much content piled up, and yeah, it's going to be quite a thing. But yeah, that is everything. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts below about what I talked about. If you want to disagree, go ahead. Just keep it respectful. No attacking people again. Just a few things that I mentioned at the beginning. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.